What is up, y'all? I'm Modell. Welcome back to the channel. Have you guys ever been out on the trail and thought, I could use some more lights? Well, this video is for you because today we're going to be looking at the Auxito 7-inch 200-watt off-road light by Auxito. These things are built like tanks and have some serious brightness to them. And they also include daytime running lights. And in this video, I'm going to be going over the specs, showing you guys the build quality, the install process, and of course, testing them out because that's what we do. Be sure to stick around to the end so you can see what my honest thoughts and opinions are on these lights. So inside the box, you get one 7-inch pod light, but when you buy this, it comes with two different boxes, so don't fret. Stainless hardware and wiring options. Auxito gives you the choice of a short pigtail DT connector or a long dual output harness with a switch and a relay. Right out of the box, the lights feel premium. Die-cast aluminum housing, sealed up tight, and surprisingly hefty. These don't feel like your budget pods at all. Let's talk specs. Power output, 200 watts total with 18 by 5 watt LED per pod. Lumen ratings is 12,000 raw lumens at about 6,000 Kelvin white light. Beam pattern is a spotlight in the middle, floodlights on the outer edges. Great for both throw and spread. Dual amber daytime running lights, which is really helpful in dusty conditions or when you just don't want to go full blast. These are waterproof, rated at IP68 rating. You could legit dunk these, they'll survive. As mentioned, die-cast aluminum with heat fins out back and a polycarbonate lens up front. These are clearly meant for rugged trail use, not just for mall crawling. So getting this Auxito light onto the scale, it comes in 3 pounds, 9 ounces. And for comparison, I know this is not an apples to apple comparison, but I'm going to take my old light and also put it on the scale, which comes in at 2 pounds and 2 ounces. Having this thing in my hand, this thing feels really good and well built. So before we go into the install itself, I do want to show you the hardware that came with the product. It's actually really nice and well thought out. So it comes with a rubber foot pad. And of course, the bracket, as you can see, has these ribbed cutouts or indentations. Of course, pulling out the light, you see it has the same indentations on the actual light housing itself. What that allows it to do is locks it into place as you tighten the hardware on it. And of course, the rubber foot pad goes on the bottom. And what this does is it secures the light to whatever it is you're mounting it to better. Prevents rattling and vibrations to the actual light housing itself. The next thing on this mounting bracket I want to show you are these high-rise cutouts in the middle. What this is designed to do is when you are bolting it in, it locks the bolt in place. So you only have to worry about one side and not get 2 wrenches in to try to tighten the bolt. And of course, it comes with the rest of my mounting hardware, washers, small bolts, lock rings, and if you don't have the right tool, they include an Allen head. I don't need it. So my plan is to install it where I had the previous lights. It's going to be facing roughly the same direction. So the nice thing about these lights, they are universal, so you can mount them to whatever it is that you need to mount them to. It's pretty funny. I was looking at the website, just doing some research on these lights, and they have a section where they had all these applicable uses for these lights, and they just went to town. So one of the things I do want to point out, these lights, as you can see, have different plugs from each other. That's because there are 2 circuits on the new one and 1 circuit on the old. And of course, the second circuit are the daytime running lights. So right there, you can see once it gets installed, you can tilt it up or down. To install this, getting things in place first before you actually install the light will just make things a little bit easier. Use the correct size washer, get your lock nut on. Some blue thread lock might be nice to use here, but I'm not planning on it. And as you can see why those indentations are designed the way they are, because it's not going to be very easy to access while you try to install it. Of course, from here, put your rubber base on. So a storm came through last night, ripped off my soft top. I've been meaning to get this replaced. I've just been so darn busy. But as I mentioned at the beginning of the video, it does come with the other side of the plug and play harness. As you can see, there are 3 wires, one for the daytime running lights, one for the actual lights. They do sell a kit that's all plug and play that has everything good to go. You just got to put the switch where you want it and run power to the actual lighthouse. I did not elect for that one because I recently installed some switches, which I'm going to be running it to. And of course, I prefer running switches over everything kind of being independently ran to separate switches. And the reason for that is for a clean install under the hood. And then, as I was mentioning, the storm went through. This light had already been installed.
I don't have a bronze star. Well, a good situation.
But kind of going through and looking at the lens, no moisture behind it. I meant to say sunshade, not soft top. Okay, so next thing I'm going to be doing is working on connecting the wires under the hood. I figured it'd be easier to show you on my workbench the different methods of doing this rather than trying to show you underneath the hood. So connecting wires, you can do multiple different ways. Of course, I'm going to show you some different ways of doing it. I'm going to show you the way I'm going to be doing it. Then I'm going to go and do it. In my opinion, the best way, of course, is the old school way, is getting your wires, twisting them together, getting yourself some solder and a soldering gun. That would involve heating up the soldering gun, melting your solder into the wires, which would create a solid bond between the 2 wires. You would get your heat shrink. Once it's cooled down, you would slide it over your joint. You would take a heat gun or a lighter and shrink the heat wrap around your joint. This would, of course, waterproof it from the elements. Another method is using a butt connector. Definitely not my preferred method, but what this involves doing is sliding your 2 wires into the metal connector in the middle and crimping the middle of the joint and using heat shrink on both ends, of course creating that waterproof seal. I don't like this method because the 2 wires are just being held by crimped pressure, and there's more of a likeliness that these wires can get pulled and separate from each other, causing you to have to redo your connection. Now, what I've recently discovered, and I absolutely love these things, are what is called a solder seal wire connector. So what this is the metal connector in the middle is actually solder. And once you get your wires connected in the middle of this, you hit it with the heat gun, it's going to reach a certain temperature and the soldering is going to melt, bleed into your wires, and it's going to create that strong bond between the 2 wires. The tube itself is heat shrinks. Unlike the butt connector I just showed you, you're able to slide all the way through, twist your wires together up top, slide this back over, and melt them together. These soldering seal wire connectors are amazing. Link in the description below to a set on Amazon, affiliate link. Go check them out. That don't look normal. Of course, wire loom is always great. Helps keep your wires look clean, helps protect the wires from the elements, heat. Of course, duct tape is a great way to make sure everything stays tight. By all means, you don't have to do the whole loom roll, just certain spots. So here's probably the most complicated part of the install is how do you wire something when you're going from point A to point B and going to point C? Well, there's several ways you can do it. One, you could tie into the middle of the wire by exposing it and soldering it in, then waterproofing it with some heat shrink. I'm going to try to keep the theme of using those really high speed soldering connections that I showed you guys earlier. So that's what we're going to do. So the way this is going to work, it's going to come together like a Y, and with one going straight out to our box. So I'm going to cut the three approximately the same distance as that they are needed. Okay. Going to expose a little bit more wire on the actual light itself. Then on my other end of wires, I'm going to expose them as well. I'm not going to cut these from the spool quite yet, not until I know how much I need. Beautiful. It's working like a charm. And we are almost done. The last little bit is determining how much wire I need before I cut it. Of course, you never want just a bunch of leftover wire when installing anything. You want to try to get as much as you need, which is just a little bit more to reach what you're going after. And about right there. So now what I will do the same for my other two wires. There we go. And I got some leftover wire loom. I'm going to use that to kind of get it all tight and clean again. So we are just about done. Last thing to do is exposing the end wires to run to the switch box. Now I'm going to run the actual light pods to a 20 fuse amp and probably the running lights to a 15. So what's nice with these amber lights, you can either wire them directly with the light pod itself, and so they both activate at the same time. But I figured that was kind of a waste of a feature. Amber lights are really great for when you're driving in dusty conditions or the snow. So if you're not front in line and you're out night wheeling, an amber light is going to cut through the dust so much better than a white light. And the nice thing about that is you can see. And the reason why that works that way is because how the amber light reflects off of the dirt. But I'm going to make sure that these lights work. And once it gets dark, I'm going to pull out the drone and we're going to see how well these lights work. So this is super agitating. My drone isn't connecting, and I was really hoping to get some really high shots of the beam patterns, but I guess you guys are just going to have to watch me light up my neighbors' houses. So the light you're seeing is dawn setting in, but here we go. All right, so first impressions. Honestly, I'm impressed. The build is solid, these lights are bright as hell, and let's be real, they look damn good. Everything that came in the box feels like quality. The install was straight up easy, just like any other pod light setup. I really think these are designed to compete with the big name lights just without the steep price tag. And no, this isn't one of those $50 Amazon specials that feels like they'll break before you even get them out of the box. This thing's a tank. I could probably club a man to death with one, though I wouldn't. I can. Now, Auxito did send these lights out to the channel, but as always, my thoughts are my own. If it was junk, I would tell you. But these, they surprised me in the best way. One thing I wasn't expecting to like as much as I did were the amber DRLs. They give the front end a slick custom vibe. They're not built to cut through the snow or the fog like a dedicated light, but they do add some visibility. Now, keep in mind, this is just my first impressions. I'll definitely be running these longer and reporting back to you after I've had more time on the trails and off-road. So if you're curious how these are going to hold up, make sure to stick around and subscribe to the channel. That's it for this one. Drop a comment and let me know what light you guys are running on your rig. Hit that like if this helped you out, and subscribe if you want more Jeep stuff and honest reviews. Link for these headlights in the description below. Y'all, keep it easy. And no, I wouldn't beat a man to death with my headlights.